Hello and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Can we get to know you, please?
My name is Abdul Batim Yusuf. You can call me Abdul.
Okay, nice. Abdul is good.
Abdul is good.
Right. I love your voice. You sound so cool and so chill. Is that the kind of person you are in real life?
Yes, I'm quite an introvert.
Okay.
And then I'm always calm. Yeah.
You're calm. So how do you manage being calm and being cool and being a Nigerian? Isn't that like two different and opposite things?
Wahala no go kill person for here.
Okay. Well, it's true. So you're just.
I'm just.
Cruise. Nice. Could you tell us two things that only 10 people know about you?
I'm an introvert. Not many people know because outside I just speak out, and then I also like food. I don't eat outside though, but at home.
You eat a lot. Nice. So let's look at eating and then future plans, because you know one of the things that people always advise you to do is don't eat your future away. So in the nearest future, in the immediate future, could you share what plan you have for us?
I plan to study abroad to further my masters, and then, well, that's basically it.
So you're one of the crew that wants to leave Nigeria.
Exactly, I just want to leave here.
Leaving Nigeria isn't as easy as it looks.
Yes.
One of the things that causes a challenge for most people who want to leave Nigeria is the IELTS. Was it a challenge for you?
Yes, it was. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was. And then although I practiced well, but then the results were not what I imagined I would have gotten.
Oh, nice. So, what did you expect to score in the IELTS, and what did you eventually score?
I expected to get an 8.5 at least, but then I ended up getting a 7.5. And that was, I think on my part, I wouldn't, because I didn't practice enough, I guess.
I see. Now, which section do you think would be your hardest before writing the exam?
The writing.
The writing aspect.
The writing aspect.
That's strange. One would think that being an introvert, speaking would be the hardest for you because you wouldn't really want to speak.
The speaking part, it was okay, but then the writing part, I don't know, I think I went over the limit, over the normal limit, and then I couldn't point out specific parts of that was needed. So
would you say that the section that you expected to be your hardest before writing the exam was your actual toughest section in the exam?
Yes.
And what did you score in this section?
I had a 7.
Okay. So and was that the worst for you?
Yes.
Out of all the bands in the IELTS? Yes. Oh, great. Now what techniques did you use in answering your questions in that section that didn't work for you? Okay? What do you think you did that did not work for you?
Because the word count limit was, I think, for the first part was 150, for the second part was 250, and I think I wrote 300 for 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was way more than necessary.
Yeah, exactly. You were meant to say it in 150 words and you said it in 300 words.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see why the score wasn't that. Then for the essay part also too, but that's not so much. So 250, 300.
Yeah.
So apart from the limit, what else do you think could have accounted for that score?
I finished the first part, but then I went back and then I saw that I missed out a detail. So I wanted to write it down, but then the time was just going quickly and I couldn't finish the sentence. I don't know if that amounted to getting a lower score than possible.
Did you proofread?
Yes.
Okay. But there was no time to
check everything,
Would you say that if you had managed your time well, that particular section could have turned out differently?
Yes, because if I had written a reasonable amount of words in the first part, I would have had enough to proofread very carefully and also write the second one and proofread very carefully.
Okay.
I wasted a lot of time.
Good. if you were to retake the exam, what advice would you give yourself for the 2 areas that were like your weakest points? What advice would you give yourself for those 2 areas? First, you tell us what those 2 areas were, and then what advice would you give yourself for those 2 areas?
My 2 areas were the writing and then the speaking. Okay. So the writing, I would say that for the first part, which is the diagram part, you just have to be specific in describing it. You don't have to add more words. And then in the second part of the writing, you should just get 2 basic or 3 basic points and then write your essay around those points and conclude very well. Then for the speaking, they will be smiling at you when you're talking, but don't mind them. It's what you're saying that counts. If you go and speak something that is, they will remove your points.
So
I think that was what worried me.
Are you saying that the body language and the facial expressions of the examiner are not an indication of whatever you're going to say?
Yes. Don't be deceived.
That's really wicked. Now, what sections did you find easiest? Why? And what was your score in those sections?
I found the listening and reading easy. The listening especially, I had a 9 in that.
Awesome.
And I practiced a lot in that, so I was expecting a 9. And the reading, although I had a 7.5, I was expecting an 8 or 8.5, but then I don't know, maybe I just answered wrongly in some questions, which affected my score.
Now, now what's the best advice you got from anyone while preparing for the IELTS test, and how did that advice help you to get well prepared?
Actually, I have 2 advices that I got. One was to be confident, and the second one was to lie. You don't have to speak the truth when you're taking the speaking test or when you're writing. What matters is your fluency, your coherence, and then just write something that makes sense. You can't lie and then be very, very unrealistic. You just have to make sense in what you're lying about.
Nice. So the fact that you don't necessarily have to focus so much on the truth or on the ideas that you're going to use. Do you think that would be a positive thing for reducing the amount of time you need to brainstorm and come up with, genuine ideas?
Yes.
And
very well.
Is brainstorming important?
Brainstorming is important. But then you shouldn't spend too much time on that, because it will just waste your time on answering other places or doing other places.
Nice. Now for the listening test, you got a band 9, which means you got 40 out of 40 questions, right?
Yes.
When you were leaving the hall, if anybody had asked you and said, how many did you fail, or do you think you failed any question at all? What would your response have been at that point in time?
I would have said I had 9, because I was very confident in the listening. I knew the listening is together with the reading and writing. So I thought I even did well in all those ones, because the confidence from the listening went on to the reading and then the writing. But then I was misled by that.
Okay. So there's something has been overconfident for the exam. So, would you say that the IELTS is more of a balancing act? You have to strike a balance.
Yes.
Between, being prepared and confident, and then also knowing that, you have to just be vigilant. As much as you are confident, you also need to go back and just double check.
Yes.
But time is the greatest enemy in the IELTS. That's what they say. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
When you, apart from the writing aspect, in which other area were you challenged with time, like
the reading? Because I don't read, even though I'm an introvert, as I said, but I don't read. I don't read. So reading, like, for me to get the main points of each essay, each paragraph given, to answer them in questions were difficult. Yeah.
Because of time. Now, what would you do differently if you were to retake the IELTS, not that you were going to retake the IELTS, but if you were to retake the IELTS, what would you do differently?
I will practice more than enough because I practiced less during I took this IELTS.
Yeah. And what score do you think you would get if you were to retake the IELTS?
8.5.
8.5. Now, what has your experience been using prep class in the past to preparing for the IELTS?
It has been very, very joyous. I mean, I got a lot of information from the tutor, and then he explained things to me, took me through.
Thank you very much. But now, moving on, would you say, if you were to give anybody, a random person who wants to write the IELTS advice, how long would you say that person should averagely take from when you decide to write the IELTS to when you write it? How long do you think is the average duration for practice? Putting in mind that, for preparation, putting in mind that you want to practice well, you want to build confidence and all of that, what duration would you recommend?
It differs from person to person. For me, in my case, it took longer. It took about a month and a half before I wrote the paper, but then others can take 3 weeks, 1 month, less than 3 weeks. So it differs.
Okay, so as someone who has written the IELTS and knowing how important the IELTS is to the whole migration process for Nigerians, and someone who's a Nigerian who has lived in Nigeria for a while,
yes.
If you were to rate Nigerians, like we take a general sample of Nigerians, if you were to rate Nigerians, what band score do you think the average Nigerian would get in the IELTS?
I believe 6.5, 7.5, between that range, because many people underestimate Nigerians, but then we are not that, we are very smart, I'm not lying. We can easily pick things up, so between that range for the average Nigerian.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much.